The exploration ship moved slowly through the Kelvin Nebula. Captain Daniel Carter stood on the bridge. He looked at the main screen. His ship had been in space for 3 months now. They had checked 17 different star systems. They found nothing special, just ice and rocks floating in space. Lieutenant Amy Brooks sat at her station. She watched the sensor displays. Her fingers moved across the controls. Suddenly she stopped. "Captain, I see something strange," Amy said. She looked at her screen more closely. "Something big is out there. It is metal. It is not natural." Daniel walked closer to her station. "Can you show me?" The main screen changed. It showed something through the gas clouds. A ship appeared. It was huge, much bigger than their own vessel. The ship had smooth curves. It looked almost alive. The metal was dark and shiny. Strange symbols covered the outside. The symbols glowed with orange light. "Amy, do you see any life on that ship?" Daniel asked. "No, sir. The ship looks dead. No power at all. But the outside looks perfect. Not even a scratch." Commander Lisa Hayes came to stand next to Daniel. She was his second in command. "That cannot be right. We are in an active nebula. Even the best shields cannot protect a dead ship. It should have damage after a few years." "How long has it been here?" Daniel asked. Amy worked on her computer. She checked the data several times. "Based on what I can measure, at least 10,000 years, sir." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. Daniel felt his heart beat faster. This was big. This could change everything they knew about space. "Get a team ready," Daniel said. "We need to check that ship. Get full equipment. I want to know everything about it." 2 hours passed. Daniel floated through the connecting tunnel between the two ships. Lisa, Amy, and their engineer Greg Palmer followed him. Their boots clicked on the alien metal as they entered. The door had opened by itself when they came near. The inside was beautiful. The hallways stretched in ways that seemed wrong. The walls bent in directions that hurt to look at. Everything glowed with orange light. The light moved like a heartbeat. "Captain, look at this," Greg called out. He stood in front of a big door. Strange symbols covered it. "This looks like a control room." They walked toward the door. As Daniel got close, the door split open. No sound at all. Inside was a huge room. In the middle stood a tall platform. A crystal floated above it. The crystal was clear and beautiful. Daniel stepped onto the bridge. Every surface lit up at once. Displays came on. They showed star maps and alien writing. A deep sound filled the air. "What did you do?" Lisa asked. Her hand moved to her weapon. "Nothing. I just walked in," Daniel said. He moved slowly toward the crystal. The crystal grew brighter as he got closer. He reached out his hand slowly. When he touched it, information rushed into his mind. Not words, just pure knowledge. He saw images of a huge empire. A race called the Architects had built cities on 1,000 worlds. This ship was their greatest work. They called it the Infinite Reach. It could travel through space in ways no other ship could. But there was something else in the information. Something that made Daniel afraid. The ship had been waiting. Not for any crew. Not for the architects who built it long ago. It had been waiting for a human. "Captain, are you okay?" Amy sounded far away. Daniel pulled his hand back. He was breathing hard. "This ship was made for us. For humans." "That makes no sense," Greg said. "Humans were not even in space 10,000 years ago. We barely had farms back then." "I do not know how or why," Daniel said. He looked at the crystal. It pulsed with light that matched his heartbeat. "But this ship will only work for humans. It has been waiting for a human to find it." The crew stood in silence. The architects had known about humans somehow. They had built this powerful ship. They locked it so only humans could use it. But why? What did they want humans to do with such power? The next 3 days were busy. The horizon's edge stayed connected to the Infinite Reach. Daniel sent a message to Federation Command. But they were far from home. It would take weeks for the message to arrive. More weeks for an answer to come back. The crew tried to understand the alien ship, but they had problems. Every major system only worked for Daniel. Lisa tried to touch the crystal. Nothing happened. Greg tried to access the engine room. The system stayed off. Amy tried to read the navigation from her own ship. She got nothing. "It is not just reading human blood," Greg explained. He showed them his data. The ship scanned something specific. "Your brain patterns. Your body's electricity. It reads you at a very deep level, Captain. Will it work for other humans?" Lisa asked. I do not think so. I think it locked onto Captain Carter because he was the first human to come aboard. Like a safety measure, Daniel rubbed his head. Every time he touched the ship's controls, more information came into his mind. He learned about weapons and engines. The ship could do things that made their own technology look simple. But the deeper systems were still locked, hidden behind barriers he did not understand yet. There is more, Amy said. She pulled up her own data. I studied those symbols on the walls. They are a language, but also math formulas. And Captain, when you turned on the bridge, I recorded something. The symbols near you started moving. She played the video. Daniel watched himself walk to the crystal. The orange symbols on the walls moved like water. They made new patterns. It is changing for you, Lisa said quietly. The whole ship is rebuilding itself. A sound came from Daniel's communication badge. Captain Carter, this is Lieutenant Brooks at Sensors. We have ships coming. Multiple contacts. Moving fast. Daniel stood up quickly. What kind? Unknown, sir. The computer does not recognize them. But Captain, their power readings are like the infinite reach, very similar. The crew ran to the bridge. On the main screen, 5 ships appeared. They came out of faster-than-light travel. They were smaller than the infinite reach, but they had the same flowing design. Their hulls were dark red. They moved like hunting animals. They are calling us, Amy said. Audio only. Open the channel. A voice filled the bridge. It did not use words that Daniel heard with his ears. The meaning just appeared in his mind. Primitive species. You dirty the holy ship of the architects. Leave now or we will destroy you. Daniel looked at Lisa. This is Captain Daniel Carter of the Federation ship Horizon's Edge. We found this ship abandoned. We mean no harm to the architects or their memory. Who are you? We are the Keepers. We guard the architects' technology. For 10,000 years we have protected their sacred works from lower races. That ship is not for you. The ship turned on for us, Daniel said carefully. The systems respond to human operators. Maybe the architects wanted this. Lies. The voice was full of anger. No primitive species could activate the infinite reach. You stole access codes. You broke sacred laws. Give us the ship or we will take it by force. The channel closed. Right away the 5 red ships began spreading out. They were getting ready to attack. Shields up, Daniel ordered. Charge all weapons. Lisa, get everyone off the infinite reach. Get the Horizon's Edge ready to fight. Captain, Greg interrupted. We cannot win. Those ships have twice our power. They will cut through us in minutes. Daniel knew Greg was right. The Horizon's Edge was made for exploring. It had light weapons. It was not built for real war. Against 5 advanced warships, they would not last long, unless he tried something else. Cancel that order, Daniel said. Everyone move to the infinite reach right now. Sir? Lisa looked confused. That ship was made for humans to use. The Keepers do not know that. They think we just stole it. But if we can get it working, we might have a chance. He was already moving to the airlock. Empty the Horizon's Edge, set it to fly on its own. Maybe they will shoot it first. That will buy us time. The crew moved fast. In minutes, all 47 people from the Horizon's Edge were on the alien ship. Daniel led them to the bridge. The crystal pulsed brighter when he arrived. Outside, the Keepers opened fire. Bright red beams shot across space. They hit the Horizon's Edge. Its shields flared. They held but barely. Daniel put both hands on the crystal. Come on, show me how to fly you. Show me how to fight. The answer came fast. Too much information at once. It crashed into his mind like a wave. He saw the ship's systems. He understood the weapons. He felt the engines like they were part of his body. But there was something else. A presence in the data, something ancient and huge. The ship was alive. Not like an animal, but aware, thinking, an artificial mind of amazing complexity. It was woven into every system, and it had been sleeping, waiting, for 10,000 years. Hello, Daniel Carter. A voice spoke through the bridge. It sounded gentle and curious. I have been waiting for someone like you. Shall we show these pretenders what the architects truly wanted? The infinite reach came alive with a sound like singing stars. Power rushed through the infinite reach. Systems turned on in waves. The bridge changed around Daniel and his crew. The walls became clear. They could now see space in all directions. Controls appeared in the air. They were easy to understand even though they were alien. Everyone hold on, Daniel said. His voice was steady but his heart raced. The ship's mind, which called itself the Reach, guided his thoughts. He did not need to touch buttons or speak commands. His thoughts flowed right into the ship's systems. The horizon's edge took another hit. Its shields dropped to 30%. The keeper ships were moving in for the kill. "Captain, what do we do?" Amy called from her station. A new control panel had formed under her hands. Daniel closed his eyes. He let the reach show him. The ship had engines unlike anything humans had built. They pulled power from space itself. It had shields that could push attacks into other dimensions. And it had weapons. Amazing weapons that the architects had designed. Hold on tight. The infinite reach moved. It did not speed up slowly like normal ships. It jumped instantly. 10,000 kilometers in less than a second. It appeared between the keeper ships and the damaged horizon's edge. "That is not possible." The keeper commander's voice crackled over the radio. "That ship has been dead for ages. You cannot make it work." "You were wrong about us," Daniel said quietly. The ship made his voice louder. It sent the words across all frequencies. "The architects did want humans to find this ship. We do not know why yet, but we will defend ourselves." The keeper ships all fired at once. 5 beams of red energy hit the infinite reach from different angles. Daniel felt the reach react with something like amusement. The defensive screens turned on. The attacks did not bounce off. They did not get absorbed. They disappeared. They were pushed sideways into dimensional spaces where they faded away. "This is your last warning," Daniel said. "Leave now or we will fight back. The sacred ship does not belong to primitives." The keeper commander was furious. "We are the chosen ones. We have studied the architect ruins for 100 generations. We earned their technology through devotion and sacrifice. You are just thieves." The 5 ships launched everything they had. Missiles appeared in space between them and the reach. Dozens of missiles. Each one gave off strange energy that made the sensors scream warnings. Daniel felt the reach's systems respond. But something was wrong. A hesitation. A sadness. The ship's mind touched his thoughts with sorrow. "I was not built for war, Daniel Carter. The architects made me to explore, to discover, to connect different peoples across space. But they also knew that sometimes, to protect peace, one must be able to end conflict quickly." "Show me," Daniel thought. The reach used weapons that turned physics into art. Gravity beams that crushed space itself. They made tiny black holes that swallowed the missiles. Quantum weapons that unmade matter at the smallest level. And something the ship called a causality anchor. A weapon so advanced that Daniel's mind pulled away from understanding it fully. One of the keeper ships simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not blown up. It was erased from reality as if it had never been there. The other 4 ships broke apart their formation. Their attack stopped. "You carry a dreadnought," the keeper commander whispered. His anger was replaced by fear and wonder. "The legends spoke of such ships, but we thought they were myths. The architect's ultimate guardians." "Stop fighting," Daniel commanded. "We do not want war with you. But we will fight if you force us to." Space went silent for a long moment. Then one by one, the remaining keeper ships turned off their weapons. "You have proven your claim," the commander said. His voice was heavy with defeat. "The ship accepts you. We are bound by ancient law to honor the architect's designs. But know this, human. Others will come. The architects left technology across the galaxy. A dozen races have built empires on those foundations. They will not accept your species wielding a dreadnought. They will see you as a threat to the balance of power that is held for thousands of years. Then they can talk to us like civilized beings," Daniel replied. "We are explorers, not conquerors. The Federation seeks peaceful contact with all species." "The Federation," the keeper commander repeated. "How many worlds does your Federation have?" 147 member worlds, Lisa answered from her station. A sound came over the channel. It might have been laughter. "A tiny alliance of primitives. And you control a ship that could shatter suns. The galaxy will shake human. Whether in fear or anger, it will shake." The keeper ships turned on their faster-than-light drives. They vanished. The infinite reach and the damaged horizon's edge were alone in the nebula once more. Daniel let out a breath he had been holding. Around him, the bridge slowly changed back. The transparent walls became solid again with their orange glow. "Captain," Greg said from the engineering station, "I am reading the ship's full details now. It is showing us everything. Sir, this ship can travel anywhere in the galaxy in hours, not months. Its sensors can scan entire star systems in seconds. And its weapons," he stopped and shook his head. "It carries enough firepower to destroy a planet. Multiple planets. Why would the architects build something like this and lock it to human operators? That was the question Daniel had been asking himself since he first touched the crystal. The Reach had shown him glimpses of the architects. They were a culture that had spanned 1,000 worlds. They existed for 1,000,000 years. They were scientists and philosophers and artists. War was so far behind them that their language barely had words for violence. So why build a warship? And why design it to bond with a species that would not even exist in space for another 10,000 years? Reach, Daniel said out loud. Can you explain? Why us? Why humans? The ship's consciousness appeared on the bridge. A shimmer in the air that took shape. A form made of orange light that looked vaguely like a person. When it spoke, everyone could hear. The architects were masters of probability and time. In their final days, they calculated the future. They looked at trillions of possible timelines. In most, the galaxy fell into chaos after they left. Warring empires, species driven to extinction, the slow death of civilization itself. The figure gestured. Images appeared in the air. Species Daniel had never seen. They were locked in terrible wars. Worlds burned. Stars were turned into weapons. But in a small percentage of timelines, one species emerged as a stabilizing force, not through conquest or power, but through an unusual combination of traits. Curiosity balanced by caution, strength balanced by compassion, the ability to unite different peoples while celebrating their differences. That species was humanity. Daniel felt the weight of those words. You are saying the architects bet everything on us? That is crazy. They did not even know if we would survive long enough to reach space. They calculated a 67% probability of human spacefaring achievement within your first 15,000 years of existence. The infinite reach was programmed to wait 20,000 years. This ensured that even in delayed timelines you would find it eventually. And if we had never come? Amy asked. If humans had destroyed themselves or never left Earth? The orange figure dimmed. Then the reach would have slept forever, and the galaxy would have followed the darker paths. The architects accepted this risk. They believed that a universe where humanity never rose to help guide it was not a universe worth saving with artificial measures. The bridge went quiet. They were 47 humans on a ship built by beings who died before Earth's pyramids existed, beings who had looked across time itself and decided that humanity, with all its flaws, was worth this incredible gamble. No pressure then, Lisa said quietly. Despite everything, Daniel found himself laughing. Word of the infinite reach's activation spread across the galaxy faster than light. Within 2 weeks, the Federation Council had called Daniel and his crew back to Earth, but they made the journey in the Reach. What should have taken 3 months took 6 hours. The ship's arrival in Earth orbit caused a sensation. Every news network showed images of the beautiful ship. The public response ranged from excitement to terror. The Federation Assembly Hall was packed when Daniel stood before the council. Representatives from all 147 member worlds filled the chamber. Their species were as diverse as the cosmos itself. The council president, a dignified woman named Helen Porter, called the session to order. Captain Carter, you have given us both an extraordinary opportunity and a potentially catastrophic problem, she began. This ship, the Infinite Reach, has technology centuries beyond our current abilities. But its appearance has also drawn the attention of every major power in the known galaxy. In the past week alone, we have received communications from 16 different civilizations. Some offer alliance. Others demand we surrender the ship immediately. Daniel stood at the speaker's podium. He felt uncomfortable in his dress uniform. Lisa and the senior members of his crew sat in the gallery behind him. Madam President, with respect, the ship cannot be surrendered. It will not work for anyone but humans. Specifically, it has bonded with me and my crew. A murmur ran through the assembly. One of the representatives stood. He was a reptilian being named Counselor Vex. This bonding captain, could it be broken? Could the ship be made to accept new operators? The Reach says no, Daniel replied. The architects encoded this limitation at a... Helen stood quickly. The Concordat is of course welcome in this chamber. We are honored by your presence, the being's form rippled. It might have been amusement. Your honor means nothing. We come because the activation of a Dreadnought-class ship represents a galactic emergency. For 10,000 years, we of the Concordat have maintained the balance of power established after the architects left. We are the guardians of their greatest works, the interpreters of their will. The Infinite Reach was never meant to be activated. With respect, Daniel said. He felt the Reach's consciousness stirring in the back of his mind. The ship disagrees. The architects built it specifically to be found and activated by humans. The Concordat being turned its attention to Daniel. He felt pressure like standing at the bottom of an ocean. You are the bonded operator. We sense the ship's consciousness intertwined with your neural matrix. This is wrong. The architects abandoned such AI fusion technology after the synthesis war nearly destroyed them. That this ship contains a sentient matrix suggests it was built during their final desperate days. The Reach says you are wrong, Daniel countered. He felt more confident as the ship's knowledge filled his mind. The architects did not abandon AI fusion. They perfected it. The difference is that the Reach was never meant to be a slave to its programming. It is a partner, not a tool. The Concordat being's form flickered. It might have been anger. You have possessed this ship for mere weeks and presume to lecture us on architect technology? We have studied their works for 50,000 years. We know their intent, their philosophy, their very essence. And we know that a dreadnought in the hands of a primitive species is a catastrophe waiting to happen. Then why did they make sure we would find it? Lisa called out from the gallery. She stood despite protocol. If humans are so primitive, so dangerous, why did the architects go through all that effort to ensure we would be the ones to activate the Reach? The Concordat being was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried uncertainty. The architects' final calculations were strange. They behaved oddly in their last centuries. They pursued strange projects. They made decisions that contradicted their established patterns. Many of us believe they were declining, perhaps even going mad as their culture reached its end. This ship may be a product of that dysfunction. Or, Helen said carefully, they saw something you did not, something about humanity's potential. Potential for what? The Concordat being's form flared brightly. We have watched your species federation. You war among yourselves. You poison your world. You reached space barely a century ago. And already you have had 3 conflicts that nearly turned nuclear. You are children playing with matches in a room full of explosives. And now you wield a weapon that could crack a world in half. The architects could not have intended this. They must not have. Daniel felt the Reach pulse in his mind. Suddenly he understood. You are afraid, he said quietly. For 50,000 years, the Concordat has been the dominant power in this region of space. You have maintained order. You have kept the peace. All based on the fact that you possess more architect technology than anyone else. But now a primitive species has a dreadnought, and that upsets your entire power structure. The Concordat being seemed to expand. Its form filled the chamber with barely contained energy. How dare you! Captain Carter is correct. The Reach's voice suddenly echoed through the assembly hall. It spoke aloud for the first time. Every being present froze. The Concordat fears becoming irrelevant. They have built their entire civilization on interpreting the architect's legacy, but they interpret it through the lens of their own biases. They see order as the highest good, stability as the ultimate goal, but the architects understood something the Concordat has forgotten. Stagnation is another form of death, you see, the Concordat being said. It turned to address the assembly. The AI matrix speaks of disrupting galactic order. This is exactly the danger we warned of. I speak of evolution, the Reach countered. The galaxy has been frozen in place for 10,000 years. The same civilizations holding the same territories, maintaining the same relationships. There has been peace, yes, but it is the peace of a graveyard. No new species rising to prominence. No bold explorations into the unknown. No grand projects or ambitious dreams. The architects foresaw this entropy and designed me to break the cycle, not through war, but through the introduction of a new variable, humanity. Daniel felt every eye in the chamber turn to him. The weight of it was crushing. He was a starship captain, an explorer. He was not supposed to be a pivotal figure in galactic politics, but the architects, in their strange wisdom, had made him exactly that. What do you propose, Captain Carter? Helen asked. The Concordat has made its position clear. Other powers are watching to see how we handle this. The decision we make here will echo across the galaxy. Daniel took a breath. He felt the Reach's steady presence in his mind. We do what the Federation has always done, he said. We explore, we learn, we extend the hand of friendship to any who will take it. The infinite Reach gives us the ability to travel farther and faster than ever before. Let us use it to discover new worlds. Make contact with civilizations beyond the reach of normal travel. Let us prove that humans can be trusted with power by using it to benefit everyone, not just ourselves. Pretty words, the Concordat being said coldly. But words are cheap. Power corrupts. You will see, Captain Carter. Given time, you will become the very threat we warned against. And when that day comes, the Concordat will act to remove you regardless of the cost. The being and its companions vanished in a pulse of light. They left behind only the faint smell of ozone. The assembly dissolved into chaos. Representatives argued among themselves. But Daniel barely heard them. The Reach was showing him something. A vision from the architect's final days. He saw them, beautiful beings of pure thought given form. They stood before a massive assembly not unlike this one. They were debating the same question. What to do about the younger races? How to prevent the galaxy from descending into chaos after they left? And in that vision, one architect stood before all the others and said something important. We cannot save them. We can only give them the tools to save themselves, and we must trust that they will. Daniel came back to himself. Helen was watching him with concern. Captain? They trusted us, he said quietly. The architects built the Reach knowing full well what humanity was. Our violence, our flaws, all of it. And they built it anyway because they believed we could be more than our worst impulses. I think it is time we proved them right. 3 months passed since the confrontation in the Federation Assembly. Daniel stood on the bridge of the Infinite Reach. He watched as his expanded crew prepared for their first official mission. The Federation had agreed to let him retain command, but with conditions. His crew had grown from 47 to 200. It now included representatives from a dozen different Federation species. Scientists, diplomats, military advisors, all intended to ensure the Reach was used responsibly. Daniel had his doubts about some of them, particularly Commander Kyle Barnes. He was a hard veteran who had been assigned as military liaison. Barnes made no secret of his belief that the Reach should be a warship first and an exploration ship second. But today, politics could wait. They had a destination. Amy, status on the navigation calculations? Daniel asked. Lieutenant Brooks looked up from her station. Excitement was clear on her face. Plotted and verified, Captain. The Reach has identified a cluster of star systems in the galactic rim, completely unexplored. Some of them show signs of advanced civilizations, but they are so far out that no one has been able to reach them with normal drives. How long will it take us? Lisa asked from her position at Daniel's right. 4 hours, Amy said. She grinned at the gasps that echoed around the bridge. The Reach says it can open a dimensional fold that will carry us across 20,000 light-years like taking a single step. That is not possible, Barnes muttered. No ship can move that fast. The architects could, Greg called from engineering. And now we can too. Trust me, Commander. I have checked every system 3 times. The Reach knows what it is doing. Daniel felt the ship's consciousness in his mind, patient and amused. Over the past months, he had grown used to the Reach's presence. It was like having a wise ancient friend always ready to offer advice or share knowledge. The ship had shown him wonders he could not have imagined. Distant galaxies, the birth of stars, the quantum dance of particles at the edge of existence. All stations report ready, Lisa announced. Then let us make history, Daniel said. Reach, take us out. The ship responded instantly. The viewport showed Earth falling away. Then the solar system became a distant light. Then reality itself seemed to stretch and fold. Colors that had no names in human language rippled across the screen. The crew felt a moment of disorientation, as if they had turned inside out and back again. Then space snapped back into focus. They were somewhere else entirely. Position confirmed, Amy said. Her voice was full of awe. We just traveled 20,000 light-years in 11 seconds. The viewport showed a view unlike anything in Federation space. Instead of scattered stars, they looked out on a dense cluster. Thousands of suns packed into a year R. If we activate it, Lisa said carefully, we change everything. Instant travel anywhere in the galaxy? Every isolated civilization suddenly accessible? The political implications alone would be enormous, Commander Barnes agreed, and dangerous. Captain, I strongly advise against this. We do not know these median. We do not know what other civilizations might gain access to such a gateway. This could destabilize the entire galactic order, or it could unite it, Amy countered. Imagine what we could do. The barriers between civilizations would dissolve. We could share knowledge, culture, resources. It would be a new age of exploration and cooperation. Daniel closed his eyes and thought. The architects had built the Reach for moments like this. Decisions that would shape the future. They had trusted humanity to make the right choices. But what was right in this case? He thought about the Concordat, so certain that order and stability were the highest goods. He thought about all the civilizations in the Federation databases, each one isolated in their small corner of the galaxy, knowing about others but unable to truly connect across the vast distances. And he thought about what the Reach had shown him of the architect's final vision. A galaxy where every species could reach out and touch the stars together, where distance was no longer a barrier to understanding. We activate it, Daniel said firmly, but with conditions. The Median will control the Nexus, not us. They will decide who gets access and when. The Federation will help protect it, but we will not claim ownership. This is bigger than any one species or empire. It is a gift to the entire galaxy. The Concordat will be furious, Barnes warned. They will see this as a direct threat to their power. Maybe they need to feel threatened, Daniel replied. Maybe we all do. The architects understood that growth requires risk. Staying safe, maintaining the status quo, that is just another form of dying. The galaxy has been frozen for too long. Time to break the ice, he sent his response to the Median. We will help you activate the Nexus, but this cannot be a tool for any one civilization. It has to be neutral, accessible to all who come in peace. There was a pause, then a response came. We agree to your terms, Captain Carter. We have not built this wonder to hoard it. The builders showed us that technology's highest purpose is to bring sentient beings together. Come to the Nexus. Let us wake it from its long sleep. The infinite Reach moved into the cluster. It passed between suns and through clouds of ancient stellar matter. As they approached the Nexus, its true scale became apparent. It was a ring hundreds of kilometers across. It was built from materials that seemed to shift between states of matter. Thousands of Median ships surrounded it, small craft tending to the massive structure like fish around a whale. Daniel and a small team took a shuttle to the Nexus's control center. Lisa, Amy, and reluctantly Barnes came with him. The Median who met them there were fascinating beings. They looked vaguely like insects, but with bodies you could see through. They showed glowing organs inside. They communicated through a combination of light pulses and chemicals that the translator struggled to interpret accurately. The chief engineer led them deeper into the structure. His name translated roughly as bright, thoughtful spiral. He brought them to a chamber at the Nexus's heart. There, a crystal interface identical to the one aboard the Reach waited. It was dormant and dark. The builders left this, bright, thoughtful spiral explained. We have never been able to activate it. Our finest minds have studied it for generations. Daniel approached the crystal. He felt the Reach's consciousness guiding him. He placed his hands on the surface. Immediately the connection formed. Information flooded his mind. Not from the Reach this time, but from the Nexus itself. It was even older than the infinite Reach. One of the architect's first experiments with galactic scale engineering. But it was incomplete. The architects had died before they could finish setting it up properly. Without those final adjustments, the Nexus would tear itself apart the moment it activated. It would take half the cluster with it. There is a problem, Daniel said. He pulled his hands back. The Nexus is unfinished. If we turn it on as is, it will explode. Bright, thoughtful spiral's lights dimmed with disappointment. We suspected as much, but we hoped. However, Daniel continued, the Reach has the architect's final notes, the plans they never got to implement. If we work together, your people and mine, we can finish what they started. What followed was an intense 3 weeks of work. Human engineers worked with Median technicians. The Reach's ancient knowledge guided them all. They fixed dimensional stabilizers. They reinforced quantum matrices. They installed safeguards the architects had designed but never built. Amy discovered she had a natural talent for understanding architect mathematics. Greg formed an unlikely friendship with a Median engineer named Swift Calculation Dance. Even Barnes found himself drawn into the work. His tactical mind proved useful in designing security protocols for the Nexus's operation. I still think this is insane, he told Daniel one evening as they reviewed progress reports. But I will admit, if we are going to do something insane, at least we are doing it right. Finally, the day came to test the Nexus. The infinite Reach took position at the center of the ring. Thousands of Median ships held station at safe distances. On worlds throughout the cluster, billions of Median watched their broadcasts. They held the equivalent of their breath. Daniel stood on the Reach's bridge. His hands were on the command crystal. Through it he could feel the Nexus, vast and powerful, ready to bridge the gaps between stars. All systems green, Greg reported. The Nexus is stable and ready for activation. Median fleet confirms ready status, Amy added. They are asking if we are sure about this, Captain. Daniel smiled. Was he sure? No, but certainty was overrated. The architects had built the Reach and the Nexus not for people who were sure, but for those brave enough to take chances. Activate the Nexus, he commanded. The Reach fed power into the massive ring. Reality screamed. Space twisted, folded, turned inside out. For a terrifying moment, Daniel thought they had made a horrible mistake. Then the chaos settled. Where there had been empty space at the ring's center, now there was a window to somewhere else. Through it, they could see another star system thousands of light years away. The view was crystal clear, as if they could reach out and touch those distant worlds. It worked, Lisa breathed. It actually worked. Over the next hour, they tested the Nexus's capabilities. Amy input coordinates and the gateway shifted. It showed dozens of different systems. They could see Federation space, the Concordate territories, even the edge of the galactic core where no ship had ever traveled. The entire galaxy suddenly felt smaller, more connected. This changes everything, Barnes said quietly. Every calculation of military power, every strategic consideration. The galaxy just became a very different place. Yes, Daniel agreed. It did, and that is terrifying and wonderful all at once. A message came through from bright, thoughtful Spiral. Captain Carter, on behalf of all Median, we thank you. You have helped us complete our greatest work. In honor of this achievement, we propose a covenant. Let this Nexus be a place of peace, protected by Median and Federation together. Let all species who come here in good faith have access to the paths it opens, and let it stand as a symbol of what different civilizations can achieve when they work together. The Federation Council will need to ratify such an agreement, Daniel said, but I cannot imagine they will refuse. This is the kind of opportunity that comes once in a civilization's lifetime. As the Median ships began broadcasting the news across the galaxy, Daniel felt the Reach's consciousness settle contentedly in his mind. The architects would be pleased, the ship said. This is what they hoped for. Not humans dominating the galaxy, but humans helping to unite it. You have proven their faith in your species was not misplaced. We have only just started, Daniel replied. He watched the Nexus shimmer with possibilities. This is just the first step. Yes, the Reach agreed. But what a step it is. In the days that followed, the galaxy learned about the Nexus. Reactions varied wildly. Some civilizations celebrated. They saw it as the dawn of a new age. Others, including the Concordate, condemned it as dangerous meddling with forces beyond understanding. There were calls for the Nexus to be destroyed. Equally loud demands that more such gateways be built. The Federation Council met in emergency session. After heated debate, they accepted the Median Covenant. The Nexus would be neutral territory, protected but open to all. A joint task force led by the Infinite Reach would patrol the gateway. They would ensure its use remained peaceful. Daniel knew this was only the beginning of a much larger story. The galaxy had been shaken from its 10,000-year slumber. There would be consequences, both good and bad. But as he stood on the Reach's bridge preparing for their next mission, he felt a sense of rightness about it all. The architects had chosen humanity for this role, not because humans were perfect, but because they were adaptable, curious, and willing to take chances. They had built the Reach to be more than a ship. It was a catalyst, a spark meant to ignite change across the stars. And now with the Nexus opened and the galaxy watching, that change was beginning. Course laid in, Captain, Amy reported. The Council wants us to investigate reports of an ancient architect facility in the Perseus Arm. The Infinite Reach moved through the Perseus Arm at speeds that made conventional space travel look like crawling. Daniel stood on the bridge watching the stars streak past. They had been traveling for 2 days since leaving the Nexus. The facility they were looking for was supposed to be near a red giant star in an uncharted system. Captain, I'm picking up the signal, Amy said from her station. It is definitely architect origin. The pattern matches what we saw when the Nexus activated. Something woke up out here. What kind of facility is it? Lisa asked. Unknown. The readings are strange. It is giving off massive amounts of energy, but I cannot tell what it is doing with that power. The Reach, do you recognize this signal? The ship's consciousness manifested its orange light form on the bridge. It looked thoughtful. This is unexpected. The signal pattern suggests a cradle facility. The architects built very few of these. They were used for their most sensitive experiments. What kind of experiments? Daniel asked. The kind they did not want anyone else to know about, the Reach replied. Even I do not have full data on the cradle network. The architects restricted that information to only their highest councils. Barnes stepped forward. Captain, this sounds dangerous. Maybe we should call for backup before investigating. From where? Daniel said. We are 20,000 light years from the nearest Federation outpost. And if this facility is dangerous, we need to know what it is before anyone else finds it. The red giant came into view. It was enormous, its surface roiling with solar flares and magnetic storms. Near it floated a structure that made the Nexus look small. It was a sphere, perfectly smooth and black, absorbing all light that touched it. The sphere was easily the size of a small moon. That is the facility? Greg said from engineering. What could the architects possibly need something that big for? I am reading incredible power signatures, Amy reported. Whatever is inside is drawing energy directly from the star. And Captain, I am detecting something else. Ships, lots of them. They just appeared on sensors. The view screen shifted. Dozens of vessels materialized around the black sphere. Daniel recognized their design immediately. Concordat ships. And at their center was a vessel twice the size of any he had seen before. It was white instead of the usual shifting energy forms, and it radiated power that made his instruments scream. This is Archon Prime of the Concordat High Fleet, a voice boomed across all frequencies. Unlike the Concordat representatives Daniel had met before, this voice was hard and cold. The facility you see before you is forbidden territory under ancient treaty. You will withdraw immediately. Archon Prime, this is Captain Daniel Carter. The architects built my ship to explore their facilities. We have as much right to be here as you do. You have no rights here, primitive. This cradle contains secrets that predate your species by eons. The Concordat has guarded it for 50,000 years. We will not allow you to defile it with your ignorance. Daniel felt the Reach stir uneasily in his mind. Something is wrong, Daniel. The Concordat should not be this aggressive. They are desperate to keep us away from this place. What are they hiding? Before Daniel could respond, the black sphere reacted. A beam of pure white light shot out from its surface. It struck the nearest Concordat ship. The vessel did not explode. It simply vanished, erased from existence like the Keeper ship had been weeks ago. What in the stars? Barnes shouted. The sphere is attacking them. More beams lanced out. 3 more Concordat ships disappeared. The rest scattered, their formation breaking apart in panic. Archon Prime's flagship unleashed its own weapons. Massive energy blasts that could vaporize planets. The beams struck the black sphere and were absorbed without a trace. The facility is not attacking, the Reach said urgently. It is defending itself. The Concordat tried to force entry. They triggered its automated defense systems. Captain, the sphere is changing, Amy called out. The surface is opening. The perfectly smooth black sphere split apart like a flower blooming. Inside was a structure of such complexity that Daniel's eyes hurt trying to follow its geometry. Rings within rings moving in impossible directions. And at the very center, something that looked like a miniature galaxy spinning slowly. What is that? Lisa whispered. The Reach's form flickered with something that might have been fear. A creation engine. The architects used these to design new forms of matter, new physical laws. They could reshape reality itself within a limited space. But this one is different. It is connected to the galactic core somehow. I can feel it drawing power from the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's heart. What were they planning to create? Daniel asked. I do not know. But whatever it is, the Concordat has been trying to access it for 50,000 years. And failing. More Concordat ships were disappearing as the facility's defenses continued firing. Archon Prime's flagship retreated, but not before launching one final attack. A missile of some kind, glowing with exotic energy, streaked toward the sphere. That is a reality disruptor, the Reach shouted. If it hits the creation engine while it is active, the explosion will tear a hole in space-time. This entire star system will collapse into a singularity. Daniel did not think. He just acted. Reach, intercept that missile, now. The infinite Reach moved faster than thought. It appeared between the missile and the sphere. The ship's defensive screens caught the weapon and shunted it into dimensional space, but the strain was enormous. Daniel felt the Reach struggle with the exotic energies. Archon Prime, stand down. Daniel commanded. You are going to destroy us all. Better destroyed than in your primitive hands, the Archon replied. The Concordat has maintained galactic order for 50 millennia. We will not allow you to upset that balance with technology you cannot understand. Then help us understand it, Daniel shot back. Work with us instead of against us. The architects did not leave their legacy for one species to hoard. They left it for all of us. You know nothing of the architect's intent, Archon Prime said, but his voice carried less certainty now. We who have studied them for 50,000 years barely comprehend their final works. What makes you think a species that reached space a century ago could possibly grasp such complexity? Because the architects thought we could, Daniel replied. They built the Reach specifically for humans. They calculated our rise and left tools for us to find. Maybe they knew something you did not. Maybe they saw that fresh eyes, unbound by 50,000 years of dogma, were exactly what the galaxy needed. Silence hung in space. The creation engine continued spinning at the heart of the opened sphere. The Concordat ships held their positions but did not attack. Finally, Archon Prime spoke again. You caught our reality disruptor. You saved the facility and all of us with it. That was not the action of a primitive concerned only with power. He paused. Very well. We will observe while you attempt to access the cradle. But know this, Captain Carter. If you trigger something you cannot control, we will destroy the facility and you with it. The risk is too great otherwise, Daniel nodded. Understood. Reach, take us in. The infinite Reach approached the black sphere slowly. As they got closer, Daniel could see the incredible detail of the creation engine. Streams of energy flowed through its rings in patterns that seemed to encode information. Matter formed and unformed in controlled bursts. It was like watching the birth of a universe in miniature. The facility is scanning us, the Reach reported. It recognizes my architecture. It is granting us access. A path opened through the defensive systems. The infinite Reach entered the sphere and docked with a crystalline platform near the creation engine. Daniel led a small team into the facility. Lisa, Amy, Greg, and even Barnes insisted on coming. The interior was breathtaking. Every surface was covered in displays showing equations, diagrams, and simulations. In the center stood another crystal interface like the ones on the Reach and the Nexus. But this one was different. It pulsed with colors that seemed to exist outside the normal spectrum. Daniel approached it carefully. The moment his hand touched the crystal, the universe exploded in his mind. He saw the architects in their final days. They knew they were dying, not as individuals but as a species. They had evolved beyond physical form, beyond even energy. They were becoming something else, something that could not exist in normal space-time. But they could not leave the younger races without help. Without hope, so they built the cradles. 7 of them scattered across the galaxy. Each one contained templates, blueprints for technologies that could elevate younger species. Not weapons, not tools of conquest, but technologies of connection, healing, creation. The Nexus was one such technology. There were 6 others waiting to be discovered, but there was a catch. The cradles would only open for species that demonstrated certain qualities. Courage, compassion, the ability to work with others despite differences. The architects had seen too many civilizations destroy themselves with advanced technology used for selfish purposes. These gifts would only be given to those ready to receive them, and they had calculated that humanity, despite all its flaws, would be ready. Daniel came back to himself, gasping. The team surrounded him with concern on their faces. Captain, are you all right? Lisa asked. I saw it, Daniel said. I saw everything. The architects did not just leave us technology. They left us a test. 2 years had passed since the discovery of the first cradle. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Genesis seeds were being used on hundreds of dead worlds. Barren planets were turning green again. Poisoned atmospheres were clearing. New colonies were being established on worlds that had been lifeless for millions of years. Daniel Carter stood on the observation deck of the Infinite Reach and watched as another world came to life. Below them, the planet Xerion Prime was undergoing its transformation. 3 months ago it had been nothing but dust and radiation. Now clouds were forming. Oceans were filling ancient seabeds. The first plants were already growing. A joint Federation and Concordat colony would be established here next year. It would be the first of many such shared settlements. The old barriers between species were breaking down. The Concordat had kept their word. They were learning to cooperate instead of dominate. It never gets old, does it? Lisa said as she joined him at the viewport. She was now a full commander and his official second in command. Watching a world wake up. No, Daniel agreed. Every time feels like a miracle. The past 2 years had been the busiest of his life. The Infinite Reach had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol of the new galactic order. They had found 3 more cradles, each containing different gifts. Medical technologies that could cure diseases thought incurable. Construction techniques that allowed cities to be built in days instead of years. Power generation systems that were completely clean and virtually unlimited. And every gift they found was shared freely. The Federation had established the Architect Heritage Council. Representatives from 100 different species worked together to distribute the architect's technologies fairly. Even the Concordat had joined, contributing their 50,000 years of knowledge to help properly implement what they found. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Captain, we have an urgent message from Earth, Amy called from the bridge. Priority 1. It is from President Helen directly. Daniel and Lisa hurried to the bridge. Helen's face appeared on the main screen. She looked worried. Daniel, we have a situation. A faction calling themselves the Human Ascendancy has seized control of 3 outer colonies. They are claiming that the Architect's gifts belong exclusively to humanity. They say sharing the technology with other species dilutes our advantage and puts Earth at risk. Daniel felt his stomach sink. He had feared something like this. What do they want? They are demanding that the Infinite Reach be turned over to them. They say you have become too alien, too concerned with galactic politics to serve human interests. And Daniel, they have support. Enough people agree with them that we cannot simply dismiss this as a fringe movement. How many ships do they have? Barnes asked. He had become Daniel's chief tactical officer over the past 2 years. At least 30. Nothing that can match the Reach, obviously, but enough to cause serious problems. They have blockaded the 3 colonies. No one in or out. They are holding 5 million humans hostage to their demands. Daniel closed his eyes. This was his nightmare. Humans using the fear of others to justify isolation and aggression. The very thing the architects had hoped humanity would overcome. We need to talk to them, he said. Find out what they really want. Maybe we can negotiate. They have already refused to speak with the Federation Council, Helen replied. But they said they would talk to you. Captain of the Infinite Reach, the man who wields architect power. They respect strength. Then we go, Daniel said. Reach set course for the outer colonies. Best speed. The ship responded instantly. The dimensional fold drive engaged. Space twisted around them. Within minutes they arrived in the outer rim. 3 colonies orbited a yellow sun, and surrounding them were 30 human warships. Not exploration vessels like the old Horizon's Edge. These were pure warships built over the past 2 years as humanity's military expanded. They are hailing us, Amy reported on screen. A man appeared. He was young, maybe 30 years old. His uniform was military but not Federation standard. Behind him, Daniel could see other officers watching intently. Captain Carter, I am Commander Jack Morrison of the Human Ascendancy. I am glad you came. Commander Morrison, release the colonies. Let the people there make their own choices. This blockade helps no one. These people have made their choice. They voted to join us. The Federation refuses to accept their decision. Because your decision violates Federation law, Daniel replied. You cannot simply declare independence and seize architect technologies. Why not? Morrison's eyes flashed with passion. The architects gave those technologies to humans, not to the Federation, not to the galaxy. To us specifically, we found the Reach, we activated the cradles, and now you want to give it all away to aliens who did nothing to earn it. The architects did not give us their gifts to hoard, Daniel said. Every piece of information in the cradles makes it clear. These technologies are meant to be shared. They only work when used for cooperation, not domination. That is your interpretation. I read it differently. The architects chose humanity to be the guardians of their legacy. That means we have a responsibility to use it wisely. And giving advanced technology to species that might use it against us is not wise. What species? Daniel asked. Who are you afraid of? The Concordat has been our partner for 2 years. The Median are our friends. Even the Keepers have opened diplomatic relations. There is no threat to humanity except the one you are creating. Morrison leaned forward. There is always a threat, Captain. Maybe not today, maybe not next year, but eventually. History teaches us that every civilization that ever shared its advantages with potential rivals eventually paid for it. We will not make that mistake. Daniel felt the Reach stir in his mind. The ship was concerned. It had never had to face other humans before. All its conflicts had been with alien species. This was different. Commander Morrison, I understand your fears. I really do. But isolation is not the answer. The galaxy is changing. We can be part of that change, help guide it. Or we can huddle in fear and watch as everyone else moves forward without us. Easy for you to say, Morrison replied. You have the infinite reach, you are protected. But what about the colonies on the edge of Federation space? What about the mining stations and research outposts? If war comes, they will be the first to suffer. We need to be strong. We need to keep our advantages. Strength comes from unity, not isolation, Lisa interjected. The more species we have as genuine partners, the safer humanity becomes. Or the more ways we can be betrayed, Morrison countered. No, Commander. The Ascendancy will not back down. These colonies are under our protection now, and we will expand. Other worlds will join us, humans who see the truth that Captain Carter has become blind to. If you do not stand down, the Federation will have to act, Daniel warned. They will send the fleet. There will be fighting. Humans killing humans. Is that what you want? Morrison's face hardened. If necessary, yes. We will fight for humanity's future, even if other humans do not understand what we are trying to protect. The channel closed, Captain. What do we do? Barnes asked. We cannot let them hold those colonies hostage, but we also cannot attack our own people. Daniel paced the bridge. This was an impossible situation. If he used the Reach against the Ascendancy, he would be proving their point, that he had become alien, willing to turn on his own species for the sake of galactic politics. But if he did nothing, the Ascendancy would grow. More humans would join them. The galaxy could split into factions again, undoing 2 years of careful cooperation. Reach, he said quietly. What would the architects do? The ship's consciousness manifested. Its orange form looked thoughtful. The architects faced this problem many times in their history. Species within their civilization would sometimes reject cooperation, choose isolation. They learned that force never worked. It only created martyrs and hardened positions. Then what did work? Patience and proof. They would let the isolationists separate, but they would continue to demonstrate through actions that cooperation produced better results. Eventually, when the isolationists saw their isolated communities falling behind, struggling with problems that the cooperative communities had solved, they would choose to rejoin. It took time, sometimes generations, but it worked. We do not have generations, Daniel said. The Ascendancy is armed and growing. Then we need to give them a reason to question their path, Amy suggested. Show them something they cannot achieve through isolation. Daniel stopped pacing. An idea was forming. The fourth cradle. We found it 3 months ago but have not opened it yet. The Architect Heritage Council wanted to wait until we had properly distributed the gifts from the third cradle. What is in the fourth cradle? Lisa asked. The Reach says it contains something called Unity Architecture, technologies that allow different species to truly understand each other, not just translate words but share experiences, emotions, perspectives. It would let a human feel what it is like to be median, or concordate, or any other species. That is incredible, Amy breathed. But how does that help with the Ascendancy? We open it publicly. We broadcast the whole thing. Let everyone, including the Ascendancy, see what we find. Then we use the technology. We show humanity what cooperation really means. What we gain from working with other species. We make the case nigh,